Hello again, everybody. This is Sampada Agarwal, CZT, and today is the 10th of February, and I'm so happy to have reached the 10th day, and we have been tangling all these past days. And I spoke about, or we explored a lot of tangles, and I felt maybe what we need to do is just revisit them in a different way so that we can see how they can be used in different scenarios. So let's just talk about two of the tangles that we already had explored before. Let's do HOLLIBAUGH. There is an I here, HOLLIBAUGH, which is by Zentangle, and maybe we could do FLUX, which is also by Zentangle. Let's see how we can combine these two, HOLLIBAUGH and FLUX, today. Again, I am using a notebook so that I can keep all my explorations together. So as a reminder, this is what FLUX look like. And this is a tile, so I have just traced a section of it so that I'm restricted to that area. And this is what HOLLIBAUGH looks like, right? So let's start with the Zentangle method, which is the first step is gratitude and appreciation. So I, for one, am definitely grateful for this opportunity and appreciate you taking the time to listen and tangle along with me. I'm hoping that you are. That's the good thing about videos, right? You can stop, pause, play however many times you want. So without further ado, let's get on with the first step, which is the corner dots and then drawing the border. And again, as I mentioned, the border could be a straight line or it could be a curvy line. Point is, we now have a space to tangle in. Now, I haven't really actively spoken of a string, but I kind of organically like to have my tangles grow. So today what we are going to do is we are going to do HOLLIBAUGH. And remember when we did HOLLIBAUGH, how I talked about it was you make a set of parallel lines and then you keep making sets of parallel lines, assuming that you go under and over. So you kind of just, if you hit a line, you just go underneath it. So the very first line you draw will be the topmost line, right? Now I'm going to make this even more organic because a lot of times people get intimidated by the straightness of the lines, saying, hey, I don't know how to make straight lines. That's not a worry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw HOLLIBAUGH in a very organic way. And you see how my line is not straight. It is kind of curvy, or rather it is definitely. So here what I'm doing is I'm drawing HOLLIBAUGH. The very first set of lines I'm drawing like so. So they are bifurcating, right? And so I drew this, right? Similarly, I can go ahead and draw my HOLLIBAUGH like so. And now this one coming out, I could make it go that way. This one, I could make it go this way. And see how I'm using this kind of very light and very forgiving lines. So don't feel that if you're drawing HOLLIBAUGH or anything, it has to be ramrod straight, perfect lines. I mean, here I am deliberately making these lines a little more organic. Actually, I could even add something like this here, and that would make it look like a branch, like a twig, right? Either way, now I have divided this up into smaller fragments. I could now go ahead and add any of the tangles that we learned down here. I could even make this little smaller, these areas, and I could go down like that. And have that bifurcate as well. It's up to you. You can just go ahead and be kind, be forgiving. So now again, we have so many sections here, right? I could just go ahead and shade those and be done with it. Or I could just go ahead and add flux in here. So the last time we had done flux, it was quite small. So let me go ahead and draw flux again. So this is how you draw flux. And they don't all have to go in the same direction. They can go any which way you want. So I'm going to just add these like so. You could add a tiny little flux here as well. And this is a perfect opportunity for us to either make this tangle really dark, or we could make it light. And what I mean by dark or light is I could just go ahead and fill all this area up, right? I could do that. And all this is very meditative. You just take your time and fill it in such a way that there are no white parts. So you see, we could have easily added a tipple. Tipple are those orbs, right? So we could have easily added some orbs here and not made this tangle so dark, so heavy. But that's okay, that's a choice. So this is something that I think would be a wonderful way to fill this in. I could just not fill it entirely, but I could just go ahead and add it in different areas. So maybe I could like so. It's up to you how you want to go about it. Do you want to have them all go in one direction, or do you want them to go any which way? So this is one way you can juxtapose HOLLIBAUGH and FLUX. I mean, you could use this, you can use HOLLIBAUGH as a string. So essentially you are taking this entire area and dividing it up into smaller squares, right? And each of these squares could be one tangle each. So it's completely up to you how you want to go about it. So there we go. And I'm not going to take too much of your time today. You got the gist of what I'm saying. I'm going to initial. Yesterday I forgot to initial it. Obviously we have to shade this too. I'm going to be very minimal shading with, I mean this all part is dark black anyway, so we can't really tangle or shade in the black area. So we are just going to shade the flux, the bulbs, or whatever you want to call it, right? So there we go. That's the HOLLIBAUGH, or rather the flux part of it. Now we could again do the same thing that we did with HOLLIBAUGH, where we just added a little bit of this shading, the over and under, you know, where we are going to shade the parts that are going under, and that way add a little more dimension to our twigs that are hanging around. I'm calling them twigs because they look very organic, right? So I could just go ahead and give this entire lot a border and then call it done. It's completely up to you if you want to add more tangles inside of this. Absolutely, you can do so. I'm just going to keep this short and simple. So we'll explore more of such possibilities, such combinations, where we will look at the tangles that we have done so far. So you don't have to feel compelled to explore more and more and more tangles. Sometimes it's just good to take time and get to know a tangle better. So take your time, get friends with the tangles that we've already explored, and obviously you can always shade areas here as well, you know, and give these a shadow as well. So I mean, the sky is the limit when it comes to shading. So we could just go ahead and add such notions as well. So yeah, feel free to shade as much more or less as you want. It's your tile, it's your tangle. Enjoy the process, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining. Initial, sign, and then finally appreciate your work, and make art a part of your daily life. Thank you so much. Namaste.